Hey, welcome to the John A. McCabe Show, where it's all about accelerating your authority in your business or field of expertise. And I do that by helping entrepreneurs, business owners, authors, experts, and speakers get seen, get heard, get noticed on any device, anywhere, anytime, in as little as 15 hours, also known as the Authority Acceleration Blueprint. Now on today's show, Anything Goes Friday, we're going to dive into the world of paid advertisements. No, we're not going to watch an episode of Mad Men based in the 1960s, but rather discuss paid advertising as it relates to today's world, the 2016-2017 version. Because of social media, anyone can run their own ads for their products, their services, promote their websites, Facebook pages, events, and so much more. But the key and specialty comes into play when your ads are effective and generate you more money than you're spending on the ads. The key? Reducing your conversion costs as much as possible. If you're not exactly sure what that means, then you want to stick around for today's episode. My guest today is no stranger to the advertising world. In fact, she's worked on Facebook ad campaigns for some of the biggest names in the information and marketing specific space. I'll see if I can convince her to name drop during the episode. Not only is she smart and beautiful, but she's also very genuine, down to earth, and a very modest person. Victoria Griggs is the CEO of Straight Line Marketing, a marketing agency that helps people design and execute online marketing campaigns. One of her specialties is Facebook ads, and her done-for-you Facebook ad service has helped to support multiple seven-figure product launches, 5 international best-selling book campaigns, and an album launch resulting in national Billboard rankings, among other profitable campaigns for her clients. She believes Facebook is the best way to power your online marketing campaigns across a variety of industries if you're using it right. Now, Victoria started her business because of timing and not necessarily because she knew exactly what the focus of it would be. She did know that she was doing a lot of amazing marketing and learning a ton of online marketing strategies that she wanted to implement for customers who would actually move forward with it rather than the giant companies she had been working with in the past with all that bureaucracy that was really keeping her ideas immobile. Now, she started Straight Line Marketing, and for the first few years, she simply did whatever marketing contract work customers needed. It wasn't until she hired a business coach that she saw that by focusing on one niche, done-for-you Facebook ads, that her business really started to explode. Now, make sure to listen to Victoria's amazing story about how she's gone through major transitions, how she went from dipping into her 401k to keeping her business afloat, to bringing in $250,000 in revenue in just 1 year by narrowing her services to a very specific niche, and her honest story of her biggest challenges and her struggles. So don't go away, because when I return, I'm going to be joined by today's guest, Victoria Griggs. Hey, thanks for joining us today. Today's Anything Goes Friday, and this is going to be an amazing episode to the end of the week. I'm honored to and pleased to have Miss Victoria Griggs joining me on today's show. Victoria and I travel in a lot of the same marketing circles, having attended many of the same events. Being the introvert that I am, I don't tend to network a great deal at the events, but rather connect with 2 or 3 people and build long-lasting friendships. So it took me several years before I actually met Victoria in person. And I actually still remember the very first thing I asked her, believe it or not. I even remember who I was with at the time, which is very unusual for me because I tend to not remember what happened yesterday, let alone 2 or 3 years ago. I believe it was.
By the way, this is news to me too. So, John, I had no idea.
You don't remember either, so that's okay. It's an unforgettable moment for most, I guess. But for some reason, it just stuck in my mind. And I believe it was around 2015. Victoria and I were in the same mastermind together. I had the opportunity to connect with her a little bit more during our mastermind events. It's been great watching Victoria rise to become a highly sought after Facebook marketing specialist over the past few years by helping people scale their business using Facebook ads. Now, many of her clients are in the coaching, expert, speaker space, but she's also worked with clients in other industries, including e-commerce, business-to-business software, solar, and even some drones. The one thing all our clients have in common is that they are already running sales funnels or they're ready to launch, and they want some online traffic and bottom line results for their business. Now, she helps them by setting up metrics-driven Facebook ad campaigns that convert through a done-for-you Facebook ads management service. So please give it up with likes, loves, shares, and a virtual flurry of thumbs up and heart icons across the screen for my guest today, Miss Victoria Griggs. Hey, Victoria.
Hey. Hey, how are you?
I'm doing very well. So the event we were at, I don't remember specifically which event was.
I'm guessing it's probably Ed Rush Mastermind. That's my guess.
No, it wasn't. It was actually one of the big events, and I think there was a pool party or something was going on by a pool. It was in the evening, and I was standing there talking to Gary Weiss. You know who Gary is?
Yeah, of course.
So I was talking to Gary Weiss, and I think Gary called you over, and you guys were chatting, and I just asked you. This was when Facebook's dark posts had just started on the scene, and Gary Vaynerchuk was talking a lot about dark posts, and I asked you something about dark posts and Gary Vaynerchuk or something, or made some comment, and for whatever reason I actually remembered that specific moment in time, which I can't remember. I go with my friends on some memorable sports trips, and I can't remember who played who, but for whatever reason, I remember that specific moment in time. It was the first time that I actually met you, so for whatever reason, it's stuck in my head. I don't know why.
My goodness, well, I hope did I give a rude response or a particularly good one?
I don't even remember your response.
Oh,
I don't remember
okay,
your
good.
comments.
So at least maybe it wasn't a bad memory. That's good.
No, it wasn't a bad memory, but for some reason, I just it's stuck in my mind, and I don't know why. But so Victoria, I don't know if you watched the show, but the first thing I like to do before we get too far into the interview is actually a speed round of questions. So don't worry, it's nothing that you actually have to study for. There's no test. You're not being graded, except Andy Lockwood likes to grade people's answers every once in a while.
But that doesn't surprise me. I know Andy's a character. If you're watching, I know you.
Yeah, I don't know if he's still on or not, but I did know that he came on a little bit earlier. But so we'll just skip to the 10 questions. So just quick answers. Just shout out the first thing that comes to your mind.
Okay.
So name the book that impacted your life the most.
Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
That's a very popular book on the show. So that ranks, I think that's number 2 behind the Bible.
Oh, wow.
So when you were a young girl, who was your celebrity crush?
This is going to date me big time. I have 2. Sean Cassidy and Eric Estrada.
Yeah.
For those of you who don't remember, Sean Cassidy of the Hardy Boys and Eric Estrada, the strapping officer in Chips.
Paunch. Officer Paunch in Chips, yeah.
Paunch.
So what's a book, podcast, or show that you're into right now?
So I have to say, one of the things that I'm a big mystery fan. And so I'm not going to go with a business answer on this because a lot of times what I like to do is just kind of tune out. And I love the shows like Elementary, and then somehow I've aged beyond my years because on PBS they have these great little cozy mysteries that I love. They're like Artful Detective and Miss Fisher, and anyway, I like trying to figure out who done it. Excellent.
I like the Elementary as well. Do you currently work with any coaches?
I do, actually. So in fact, I have. Sure. Jimmy Harding is who I've been working with as a business coach, who's fantastic. Yep. And I also actually have a wonderful coach that I've been working with on productivity. And her name is Sarah Rypecking, and she's in True Focus Coaching. And it's really been great. She really helps people be productive based on the way that you operate. So for instance, if you just can't seem to get a certain kind of thing done, she's a licensed psychologist. And so we actually look at, one of the things, quick aside, I know this is a quick question round, one of the things I do is that I always prioritize client work. And so I'm not really working on building my business because if ever I have a few moments, I'm trying to build my clients. Right. And so the way that we got around that is she had me basically make a fake client. So I'm on my own client list, and that little tweak has made a big difference. Excellent. So things like that.
Sweet.
Like mind hacks.
Right. Are you currently involved in any masterminds?
I am. So Jimmy Harding is my mastermind person who leads that. We meet every Wednesday. And then I also have been to mastermind events that Everett runs, Everett O'Keefe and Andy, and those have been fantastic. So both of those.
Excellent. So name a person, either dead or alive, who you'd most like to meet and have dinner with.
Richard Branson, no doubt.
Excellent. And what's your favorite type of vacation, if you actually take any? Beach or adventure tour?
No question, adventure tour.
And what's the best business advice you ever received?
Actually, it is 2. And I don't know if we're going to get into this in a little bit, but the The two things are focusing in on either a skill set or industry or both. And then the second thing is actually a retainer billing versus project-based. Those two things made a huge impact in my business.
Excellent. And the last question is a two-part question. So what do you enjoy the most, not what do you consume on a regular basis? So out of these, which is your favorite? Water, beer, or wine? And pizza, wings, or salad?
Wow. So I drink water. In fact, I have this thing of water. I'm almost like carry a bottle all day, every day. My mom at one point was worried I was diabetic. So all I was doing is drinking water. So I definitely drink water a lot. But then it's also, gosh, if I'm relaxing, love a glass of wine. Good beer will do too. So if I have to choose one, I'll choose wine. Okay. But you'll see me with a good frosty one every now and then too. So pizza, wings, or salad? Out of those, which is your favorite? Pizza. Excellent. So that must be a popular one on the show too. It is. Pizza is very popular. So Victoria, in all of that bio intro, can you just sort of give us the 60 to 90 second origin story of stuff that maybe I missed out on? Sure. The quick origin story. I was in corporate marketing for a long time. So actually, I would say mainly tech companies. So I was in software, mainly B2B software here in San Francisco, where I'm based. About 4.5 years ago, I went and started my own company. And about 1.5 years in, I started working with a fantastic business coach who really completely shaped the business the way it is today. Ed Rush, many of you may have heard of. He's been a guest on your show. Yeah. And at that point, I was doing a lot of things for a lot of people and not really focused. He asked me, what is it that you're doing that works the best across everyone? And this was everyone from a $100 million software company to a single author. And I thought about it, and he's, is there one thing that works the best? And I said, well, yeah, Facebook ads. And he asked, well, have you ever thought about just doing that? Gosh, no, I haven't. And from that moment forward, I really pivoted my business and have focused on that. But my background for almost 20 years is, which you probably got from the Eric Estrada reference, but for almost 20 years of being in mainly kind of product management and marketing, my background was really broader. So I ran marketing teams and have a broad brush in business case analysis and strategy and the rest. But really over the last several years, focused in my all day, every day is Facebook ads now. Okay. Can you fill us in on sort of the transition into becoming an entrepreneur? So what happened? Why did you leave the corporate world, and how did you end up becoming an entrepreneur? Yeah, so I had been in I was working in, again, as I mentioned, software companies. And in the software companies, I had moved from what was called product management. So I started out as a developer. I moved into product management, which is essentially gathering requirements. So we talk to the end users and ask, what do you want? I work with the developers to have it be built. I moved from that into marketing. And it was just kind of a job opportunity. And this was, I think, in maybe 2008, I would say. And marketing was kind of a new thing for me, and it was important to me to be good at my job. So I started doing a lot of self-study. And as I started doing self-study, I came across a lot of internet marketers and things that they were doing online and really exciting stuff. And what they were talking about online versus what I was doing in corporate were night and day. Yeah. And it was like, in corporate, they were actually saying, like there would be a report published by Forrester, and at the flashback to 2008, Facebook hasn't been around too long. It's certainly not super popular, and other social media sites. But Forrester would publish things like, is social media viable? Whereas I was just at a conference, and the guy sitting next to me had personally made $150,000 off of campaigns on social media that weekend. Yeah. And so I was just really fascinated, and I started also going to more and more of these live events and meeting more entrepreneurs, people who were doing these things for themselves. And so it kind of planted the bug, and I have to say that I probably stuck around longer than most. I kept working in corporate up until about 2012, so for about 4 years, I really struggled with it, and it came time where I left one company and went to work at another one, and the company where I was working was really large, and they're one of these companies, are a $3 billion company. They spin up projects, and they'll kind of start with 10 things and keep one, another 10 and keep one. Yeah. So within a year of joining this other company, I was already on my third project, and you put your heart and soul into it. And even things like, we were launching a new software, and I was like, okay, well, let's get ready for the launch. Let's do a press release. and they laughed, and they're like, our last company acquisition was a blog post. You're not going to get a press release for a product launch. I'm like, okay. Yeah. So, and then it went on like, well, let's do an email, let's let our customers know by sending an email. No, we only send our emails once a week, and you've got to schedule out, and you can have one paragraph. I'm like, oh my gosh. So I'm in charge of this product line. How am I supposed to make this successful if I can't actually market? Yeah. So that happened, along with them also saying, okay, well, we're going to end that project too. So now it's time to find your third role. And I was like, you know what if I don't find that role? And they're like, well, you could take a 6-month severance. And I'm like, that's it. That's what I want. And so strangely enough, it happened to be right around my last day with this company was April 15th. I was also getting a healthy tax return. So a 6-month severance plus a healthy tax return gave me the seed money to actually leave and get started.
Excellent. This question is more for the people that don't know who you are. So can you talk about some of the big names or some of the people that you've worked with over the past few years, and just started laying some foundation of the types of clients that you actually work with, if you're allowed to name them, and roughly what kind of success these clients had?
Well, I don't know that I can talk about numbers. I can say I've been so fortunate and pleased to work with some of my mentors and people that I really look up to, like Ed Rush and Mike Koenigs and Pam Hendrickson, and even John Assaraf. And so I've run ads for them, and I've been so pleased to do that. Some other folks too that are probably in that, I would say, that same space and probably as well known, but they're a little more private. Right. So I'll probably not say those names, but really it's been a range. It's been from people who are just getting started and all the way to people whose businesses are up and running and have been for a while, and just adding kind of gas to the fire.
Nice. So I got a couple of questions here from Joe. Yeah. Joe wants to know, what is the biggest misconception businesses have about Facebook?
I saw that question come in earlier. That's a great one, Joe. Thank you for asking that. I'm going to go actually in 2 different ways, because I've in the back of my mind as I've been answering these questions, I've been debating about the answer to this one. And the first one is, of course, that Facebook, I think people still have this misconception that it's about puppies and dinner and who you were out with, that they don't see it as a serious advertising channel. If you had asked me a year ago, hands down, I would have said that was the biggest misconception. And that still exists, but I think Facebook ads have become so popular that I think that is lessening as an objection these days, at least in the people that I'm talking with. But the one thing that I still see, which is true to an extent, is Facebook is so easy, anyone can do it. Spend $5 and you're going to get a lot of money back. And a lot of times what people have is actually, you take results out of context. I have the screenshots that say, hey, look, we spent $3,000 on Facebook ads and the launch did $540,000. But what they don't tell you is everything else that they were doing during that time. You can't say just Facebook ads and the huge launch results. That's right. And make a comparison. So a lot of people who are just getting started in Facebook ads have this idea that, oh, I'm going to spend $5 on ads and I want at least $100 back. And if you think about it, you look and you're like, well, would any other thing that you were doing for your business get a 20 times return? Like, let's be realistic about the numbers and plan the campaign and put some other things around your marketing activities to help Facebook help you get those results. So I think that I would say, just to sum it up, first of all, that not everyone is on Facebook, and that's, of course, not everyone is on Facebook, but I see that used as my customers aren't on Facebook. I'm telling you, most people, your customers are on Facebook. Yeah. So it's that one about it not really being a serious advertising channel for my business, fill in the blank. That's number one. And then number 2 is that it's so easy, anyone can do it and get these massive returns because they're buying into some of the hype that people perpetuate by showing screenshots without the context of everything else.
Excellent. So I have another question from Nikki. Nikki wants to know, what is a fair budget for running Facebook likes and or links to client website ads for those who have a small or inactive list?
You know what? That's a great question. And I'm going to answer it a short way and a long way. The long way first. Okay. So the long way is that whatever we set out for a budget is actually based on the goal of that marketing funnel. So what we always do, I often have people come to me and say, okay, well, I want to run Facebook ads. And when I drill in and say, okay, well, let's see, what are we offering and what are the steps that it's going to take to get there, they haven't necessarily thought that through. really, whenever we design a funnel, we start with the offer. On one side, you design it backwards. What is it that you want to sell? And then what are the steps required to get people to that stage? And only then do we look at the ads and the budget that would be relevant for that. So, and I'll give an example. If a lot of my clients are doing high ticket. So if you're doing a high ticket sale for, and I would say high ticket is maybe $2,000 and above. Some of my clients are actually $20,000 and $25,000 sales. So if you're going to high ticket, you're going to have a conversation with that person. So what's the best way to build trust and have a conversation? Well, I think we've been through a number of these funnels long enough to know that there's a tried and true funnel that a lot of people use, which is, essentially it's a webinar to a strategy session to a close. And that gives you a lot of flexibility to either sell the big ticket or downsell. Now for the webinar, now we're looking at, okay, well, what are we looking at to get people to actually register for the webinar? So then it comes down to conversion rates. And conversion rates, by the way, are different based on the type of webinar page, whether it's just in time, schedule, it's available now or later. So a number of different things come in where the ultimate suggestion for an ad spend is based on a revenue model where we say, we want to make this much overall in the launch. Here's how much we're selling it for. And then work backwards and say, here's the conversion rate we expect to see at each stage. And in order to get these business results, here's the budget. Now, if I'm working with someone who really knows their business well, that's the way that I always do it. Because we really want to be metrics driven and make sure we're getting business results, not just clicks or even the people signing up for the first step. If people really are just getting started and they have no idea where to begin, I like to have at least $1,000 a month in ad spend, maybe $500 if you're just testing maybe a free report or something that has a higher opt-in. But most of the time, what I'm really doing is trying to get a business result. And if you're trying to sell a $500 item, and you're just getting started, you've got to find your groove. So you need more than $500 to test to sell a $500 item. Sometimes I've heard people give the number it's either 2 or 3 times the cost of the product you're trying to sell is a good initial test budget. I haven't quite seen that, but I think it's just something good to keep in mind.
Okay.